Good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Round Lake Area Board of Education on May 19th, 2025 at 7:03 p.m. If I can get started first with a roll call, please.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley?
Here.
Mr. Jewett?
Here.
Mrs. Larson?
Here.
Mr. Francisco? Here. Miss Lee? Mrs. Klingler?
Here.
All right, and first up on that is going to be a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we do have one slight adjustment to the meeting agenda as it is listed. We are going to move numbers 9 and 10, which is the consent agenda and the administrator introductions, prior to 3. So they will take over as basically 3 and 4, and then everything else will bump down. So if I can get a motion to approve the meeting agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett? Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have an approved agenda. And now first up on that is the consent agenda.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda for the following items. The accounts payable report for $1,834,014.24. The previous motions report for $182,359.33. And the March 2025 treasurer's report and the May 19th, 2025 employment report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Hearing no additional conversation, roll call, please.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee? Yes. Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
Motion carries, and that will bring us to introductions.
Good evening, Board of Education. It is my distinct honor and privilege to stand before you tonight to introduce someone who's not just stepping into a new role, but stepping into the spotlight she has more than earned. Tina, our new Director of Finance, although the spotlight is not where she likes to be. Tina has been an integral part of the finance team for many years, a constant force behind the scenes, ensuring our budgets are balanced, our reports are precise, and our operations run smoothly. She has demonstrated time and time again an unwavering commitment to this district, to leading with integrity, to her intelligence, dedication, and grit. What I find most compelling about Tina is that in every interaction I have had with her colleagues, her peers, staff, administrators, the feedback has always been the same. This promotion is not just earned, it's deserved. Tina embodies the spirit of quiet strength and relentless perseverance. She is in many ways an unsung hero, but tonight that changes. Tonight she gets her solo. I am both honored and excited to stand next to her on this journey to watch her step into this role as she has been preparing for her entire career, and see her shine as I know she will. Please join me in welcoming Tina as our Director of Finance for Round Lake Area Schools.
Dear school board members, superintendent, and administrators, I just want to say a big thank you for this recognition. It truly means a lot. I'm really grateful for the trust and support you've shown me, and I'm excited for the chance to keep serving our school community in this new role. This opportunity feels like a big moment for me personally, but it's also a reflection of the amazing leadership and teamwork I've been lucky to be part of in our district. I'm looking forward to continuing this work alongside such a passionate and committed group of people to support our students, staff, and families. I'm stepping into this new chapter with a lot of appreciation and energy, and I'm ready to keep contributing to the work we all care about. Thank you so much.
All right, and that will now bring us to our April Athletes of the Month, and I believe that is our athletic director, Mr. Karolzak.
Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. Really excited for these two young people that we're about to recognize. It's certainly the first time this has happened in my short tenure here as athletic director, but if it's not the first time, I have to imagine it's rare. Both of our athletes of the month for April are freshmen who are competing on varsity. So I think that speaks obviously to their talent and maturity. But what I'm most excited about with these two is their potential for leadership and growth, and I think it speaks volumes about the direction that our athletic program is headed. So with that, we'll start with our male athlete of the month for April. From the boys track and field team, Daniel Banuelos. Daniel? Here to recognize Daniel as head boys track and field coach, Kevin Brady.
Okay. Hello, board. So this is Danny Benuelos. He's a freshman on the track team. He's had a fantastic season. It's been quite remarkable to see what he's done this year. About a year or two ago, our girls coach started putting together a freshman top 5 for all the different events we had to kind of see for the incoming freshmen where they kind of sat and like where you're getting from the history and seeing where they're at. And Danny has done a fantastic job because this season he has freshman top 5s in 5 different events. In the 200 meter dash, he's the 3rd place freshman all time. And the 400 meter dash, he's the 2nd place. In the 800 meter run, he's 1st with a 2:03, which is really fast. This past Thursday at the conference meet, he placed 6th overall and took 1st place in the freshman top 5 with a 4:39. And then he's also, we only let him run it once, but he took 5th, he's 5th place in the 3200 meter run. So
Mr. Brady, he's fast. Is
Yes,
that what
he's
you're
fast.
saying?
And what's really remarkable is he's fast not just in like the 200 to the 2 mile, it's sprint versus distance. So it's like, that's kind of, you don't see that. If you ask a 200 person like, hey, go run the 2 mile, they'd be like, I quit. And if you ask the 2 miler to go run a 200 meter dash, they'd be like, but I'm not fast. So it's been really kind of cool to see Danny kind of grow up and progress this season. He was one of our only conference placers in Thursday's meet, so it's really kind of cool as a freshman running against juniors and seniors that have been doing this for 4 years and have years in training on him. But he's done a fantastic job, so he's well deserved for this.
All right. Our April female athlete of the month is a varsity athlete in 2 sports, but tonight she's being recognized for her contributions on the softball field. Our female athlete of the month for April is Piper Berry. Here to recognize Piper is head softball coach Marjorie Sumlow.
Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone. For the month of April, Piper is leading the conference with 16 stolen bases. She has hit 4 home runs. Her batting average is .556, and she is second in conference for pitching at 68 strikeout. More importantly, Piper is someone who's made a big impact in a short time. It's not always easy to walk onto a team as a freshman and stand out, not just for skill, but for character. But that's exactly what Piper has done. From day one, she has shown up with energy, work ethic, and growth mindset. Piper has proven that leadership isn't about age or seniority, it's about heart. It's about being the kind of person that leads, it's about being the kind of person that leads by example, and that others want to follow. Piper doesn't just lead with her voice, she leads by example, whether it's hustling during drills, staying after for practice to help a teammate, or simply bringing positive energy to the dugout. She is an all-around athlete and amazing teammate in person. She has made this team better, and the best part is, Piper, you're just getting started.
All right, next up is Tech Campus Awards.
Good evening. So I get to do both of them this evening. Our first one, we have 2 Round Lake Tech Campus students who were awarded $500 scholarships from the Tech Campus Career Expo Partnership Scholarship Fund. These scholarships are funded by industry partners who work with Tech Campus students. There were 8 total scholarships awarded. Congratulations to Round Lake awardees Daniel Lira and Yvette Castro. Daniel is in the law enforcement and CSI pathway and plans to pursue a degree in civil engineering from the University of Missouri. And Yvette is in the medical assisting program and plans to work as a medical assistant after graduation while continuing her studies in healthcare. Neither one was able to make it this evening, but we still wanted to recognize them. Our next one, it's my pleasure to share that Round Lake High School students achieved remarkable success at the 2025 Skills USA Illinois State Leadership Skills Conference, held April 24th through 26th in Peoria. Skills USA is a national organization that empowers students in career and technical education through hands-on competitions judged by industry professionals. Our students brought home 10 medals across various vocational areas, making Round Lake the top performing district in the county. As a result, our high school is proudly displaying the Traveling Skills USA Lake County Trophy for the year, as held by Mr. Peterson. Our medalists are, with silver, Zareth Rodriguez, Aileen Popoca Contreras in emergency medical technician, Johanna Rojas for nursing assistant. Bronze, William Rivas for industrial motor control. Top finishers included in 4th place, Irvin Barrera Sotelo for barbering, Zareth Rodriguez and Aileen Popoca Contreras for health services career showcase. 5th place, Kimberly Trujillo for emergency medical technician. 6th place, Zareth Rodriguez for health occupations professional portfolio. And Jason Gomez for industrial motor control. These accomplishments highlight the real-world skills and determination our students have in preparing for high-demand careers. Their success brings pride to the RLAS community and underscores the importance of career and technical education.
All righty then. All right, next up, we will move on to communications to the board, and first up on that is our artificial intelligence guidance, and I think that's Mr. Kozik. Thank you. Well, great job, great job.
They heard AI and they ran for the hills. Good evening. Let me bring up my notes. All right, sorry. Kevin and I are excited to be here this evening to share with you our AI guidance documentation. Before doing that, though, we want to take you back on a little journey on how we got here tonight. If we go back 2 short years, AI, or ChatGPT, was starting to hit the airwaves and make a bunch of noise. And most people at that time panicked because of the fear and unknown and decided to shut it down. Prevent people from having access, prevent students. Districts followed suit, and we did the same because of the unknown. At that time, however, Dr. Mendoza came to me because he knew better, and that was a winning strategy, and asked us to establish a formal AI strategy for our district. One that would provide our students and staff with unique opportunities to harness this technology and to get in as close to the ground floor as possible. With that said, and in order to accomplish that, we established an 8-member district technology steering committee that meets quarterly to drive large district-wide initiatives. Members include district and building administration, as well as our EARL president. Besides Kevin and myself, members include Casey Kurtz, Jeff King, Nikki Leach Holland, Jeff Dees, our high school AP, Darlene Salhavi, elementary AP, and Chrissy Gallen. Our first priority was to establish an AI strategy. To do so, we formalized our AI guidance. In order to do so, we formalized an AI task force and chartered them with the establishment of AI guidance and provided them an environment for safe and effective adoption of AI within our district. And you'll hear a little bit more about the AI task force shortly. Additionally, the steering committee then, as part of a district-wide strategy, also identified enterprise dashboards as a top initiative. This has been something we had talked about in the district for a little while, and I'm pleased to say tonight we've identified a strategic partner, which you'll hear a little bit more about later this evening during the Finance Committee update. Okay, the AI task force process. Here's the timeline in which we kicked things off. We started the AI task force in late September and spent the fall and winter months developing an AI guidance document. In late winter, we previewed that document with our strategic committee and made revisions based on feedback over the spring timeframe. We then presented the AI guidance during our May admin leadership meeting a few weeks ago, in fact, which brings us to tonight. I think it's very important to note that while other districts may be creating formal AI policies or following our lead in doing AI guidance, we did what we felt was best for our district. AI continues to evolve, and it was important to us that our guidance does not become stale or outdated because it's a formal policy that then needs review and approval. In fact, that's why we don't name tools in our AI guidance, and we didn't create a formal policy that would be too rigid for our district. Okay. At the center of everything we did, our focus was on what is best for Round Lake. We grounded our work at the heart with the district's mission, as well as our updated strategic plan, and obviously the portrait of a graduate. We feel our AI guidance positions our students and staff well for the upcoming AI revolution. We are proud of this very important work. It positions our district very well for years to come.
Okay, so like Dan mentioned, we ended up founding an AI task force team through the help of the Educational Technology Department. We identified some different teachers across the entire district, across multiple departments, so we would have a well-rounded team, and the team was great. Brought multiple different perspectives, identifying both benefits and fears, which I'll get into a little bit throughout the process. But we had a very well-rounded group that that sort of gave us a great representation of our staff and where they were at along the AI journey. So the goal overview is we wanted to make sure that, like Dan mentioned earlier, that we defined the vision for integrating AI in Round Lake, that it was for our district and not just copying and pasting or taking something else that another district has created, but we were taking something that was really going to be grounded in our work and meet our students and our staff and what our community needs were. So we led off to the conversation with our team by asking, well, why are we going down this journey? What's the whole purpose of this? So why AI? Well, some of the things that we came up with, well, we want to make sure that we're preparing students for a future with emerging technologies. AI, like Dan had mentioned, has been around for a couple of years, but we were really just scratching the surface about what it might become, in the future and how our staff and our students and our community might be able to use it. We also want to make sure that we're empowering teachers with an AI to enhance learning experience, meeting our students' needs and using it to positively impact education. And then lastly, if we're going to be going down this work, we want to make sure that we're using it responsibly, as we know that there are some different things that we need to be aware of when using this type of technology.
We're tag teaming here, sorry. So roughly 2 months back, the Chicago Tribune ran a story that highlighted state legislators looking to establish guardrails around AI use in a number of avenues, including education. That was as a result of the fear factor.
Okay. And then obviously the New York Times ran an article where teachers, expressed that they have some worries, but they love AI for themselves, but they have some worries for their students. So again, we have the Tribune and New York Times, two very obviously well-known publications in our country. And then lastly, as we know, the current administration is advancing AI and proactively celebrating its use. Last month, the current administration signed an executive order advancing the use of AI, and just last week, if I'm not mistaken, the Prime Minister of Qatar was here and announced a $2.5 trillion investment in AI because he wants his country to lead the AI revolution. So there's both positive things happening as well as KSVR. Our AI guidance covers both of those. Okay, so we have a quick little video that we're going to show. This is going to show one potential use case for artificial intelligence.
Founder of Khan Academy, and I'm also the author of a new book about artificial intelligence in education called Brave New Words. And OpenAI invited myself and my son Imran here to try out some of their new technology. And so we're curious about how good it might be at tutoring someone in math on Khan Academy. So let's get it started. It's loading up. All right, make sure it can see our screen.
Actually, in this format.
Hello there. Yeah. I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem, but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
Perfect. That's correct. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse? Remember
really,
on the hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you find which one is the hypotenuse?
Oh, okay, I see. So I think the hypotenuse is this really long side from A to B. Will that be correct?
Exactly. Well done. Now that you've identified the hypotenuse, can you identify which side is the opposite side to angle alpha?
Okay, well, I mean, you told me earlier that this was the adjacent side, and I know that's the hypotenuse, so I'm guessing that this side, BC, is the opposite side.
Great deduction. That's absolutely correct. Now that you've identified all the sides relative to angle alpha, do you remember the formula for finding the sine of an angle in a right triangle?
Yeah, I know that the sine is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse.
Perfect. That's absolutely right. Now, can you apply that formula to find sine alpha in a triangle using the lengths of the sides that we've identified?
Okay, so, I mean, you told me that 7, this side BC, is the opposite side. And then you said that the hypotenuse is the longest side, so that would be this side AB, which is 25. So would the answer be 7 over 25?
Excellent work. That's correct. Sine alpha equals 7 over 25. You did a great job identifying the sides and using the sine formula. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, so obviously that video, just really kind of scratches the surface and shows one potential use case as an AI tutor. But one really unique thing about this video is that it's actually about 11 months old. So, I mean, we know that technology is advancing at a very, very rapid pace. And again, 11 months old, just think about where it's going to be, another year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, which again, speaks a little bit to, I think, the urgency that we need to start having these conversations this school year, start getting a guidance in place so that we can start crafting a sort of a strategic vision for the district moving forward. Before we advance too far, as we were kind of having the conversations with our team, we were trying to create some different sort of aha moments where there were some potential use cases for artificial intelligence. So as we were working with the team, we called out the graphic that actually you see up on the screen there was actually created using AI. Just threw a quick little prompt into a chatbot, and I think it was please give us a visual for the future of education using symbols with AI. And so real quickly, it kind of created a picture for us. So we kind of use that as a little bit of an example that, okay, as you're trying to create materials for your students and describe different scenarios or different pieces of information from your class, you might find this as a great way or a tool to be able to show that information in a visual way. Let's get through the video. All right. So next, with our group, we ended up breaking out and having a really productive discussion about benefits and fears around artificial intelligence. So what we did is we broke everyone up into basically 3 different groups, and we actually went low tech, which I know is a little odd for being the ed tech person in me. But we used Post-it paper, and I just had them, we put them up on the walls, and we just said, okay, go start making a list of some of the benefits and fears after watching that previous video that we just watched, okay? So it led to a really great discussion where they were able to identify a number of different things. We had the teams each share out to the entire group, and as they were sharing out, I walked around, I took a picture of each one of their Post-its. And what I did then is I took that picture and I uploaded it in the ChatGPT, and I said, please organize the benefits and fears from these pictures and rewrite them to remove any duplicates. Because I had a feeling that some of the teams might have some similar ideas going on. And so you can see that it ended up giving me an output. And it's a little bit cleaner on this slide here. So as you can see, some of the benefits that it identified were, can you hit it one more time, Dan? Were that it prepared students for workplace, differentiation, so adapting to our students' needs, and then lastly, providing accessibility and support for diverse learners. Those were 3 of the top 10 or so that we identified. There were also some fears. So loss of human interaction, which is obviously something that, we know that education is about relationships with students, so that's something that was identified as a potential fear. Cheating or over-reliance on AI as a crutch. And then lastly, in a similar vein, is reliance on AI too much. We don't want our students to lose those critical thinking skills themselves and become over-reliant on this technology. And that was, again, another aha moment that we built into our process. So So then that led us to starting to have some conversations around ChatGPT and then what types of prompts we could be writing. So we said, okay, well, I'm a teacher, and it's pretty common that I might want to have a study guide that I'll want to prepare for my students. So all I need to do, right, is type in, I need a study guide about habitats. And I would expect that it would give me an output that I would be able to use. So we did that. We threw it in there, and it gave us okay results. Identified what is a habitat, maybe it gave us some vocabulary, but it didn't necessarily meet all of our students' needs because it was missing actually some really critical information. So that led us to go on to talking a little bit about how do we engineer a prompt for teachers. So we used this graphic that was created by Ann Hanrahan. And we started kind of diving into all of the different sections. So we said, okay, we wanted to create a study guide for 5th grade students aligned to NGSS, so Next Gen Science Standards, about habitats, include sample questions and websites. So we gave it a little bit more information than the previous prompt. So once we put that in there, we got more specific results and exactly something that the teacher was actually looking for. And even obviously after these results here, vocabulary, that's aligned to a 5th grade student, not a potential junior or senior in high school. So again, wanting to make sure that we're meeting our students' needs. But you can obviously continue to add additional prompts to kind of narrow the focus and enhance the output. So throughout this process, we use a variety of resources. So the administrative team last summer read an AI Made Simple book, and we came back in fall and had a great discussion that Dr. Mendoza led the entire administrative staff around, and we thought that that was a really great foundational text, and that this is something that our AI task force should have as well. So we did some reading from there. We chose some passages, and they also had the opportunity to read some additional passages on their own time, and that's again what really led to some really great conversations that we had. We obviously also identified a few districts that were maybe a little bit ahead of us, and that's okay, where they had already gotten to a place where they had put some guidance in place. So Maine Township, Naperville 203, and Community School District 181 were 3 guidances that we had our team evaluate, and then we had some really great discussions around when we came back and met in October. So through all of our work and through all of our conversations in our feedback loop, we have up here our current guidance, which is also included in your board packet here. So I'll just go ahead and let that play for a minute. You can sort of see some of the key takeaways, though. We're guiding principles for AI use. We focus heavily on purpose, compliance, responsible use, integrity, agency. We talked a little bit about student learning, and then also staff support, so how staff would be able to use this technology. We also wanted to make sure that we identified some prohibitive uses as well. So again, also focusing on both the student and staff.
And board, there's a whole separate PDF as part of the agenda item that has all the specific guidance. So just want to call that out.
So as part of the review process, like Mr. Kozik said, we had not only solicited feedback, obviously, from our teachers and our team, but we brought it back to the steering committee. We brought it to our district's legal team for some feedback. We brought it to Dr. Mendoza and Ms. Bennett. So it was a very thorough process in order to kind of the document that we ended up putting in front of you today. So what's our next steps? So obviously we're here this evening sharing out our presentation and what we've produced, but that's really just step 1 of our work. So next we're going to be introducing some updates to both our staff and student handbooks. We'll have staff communication going out about where we're at, and including the guidance, as far as kind of highlighting some of our next steps, which will include bringing back an AI task force. We're calling it AI Task Force Phase 2, where we're going to be doing a bit of a needs assessment, trying to identify where does this technology most needed in the near future. What is our staff looking for to get out of this type of technology? There might be multiple needs. Obviously, we have a number of different schools with a number of different staff who have students with different needs. So we may end up looking at a couple of different tools. So we're really looking forward to that work, starting that work at the start of next school year. And then that'll lead into professional development. And we're currently working with Ms. Damp over there to identify some time in the PD schedule for next year to start having some foundational conversations with our staff before we even come close to introducing any sort of new tools or systems or products. We need to make sure that our staff, again, understand the why behind why are we introducing this technology, what is it capable of, and then actually, in all of their MacBooks right now, there's actually the opportunity to access this through Apple Intelligence and some of the other tools that are already available to them. That's it for our presentation. We welcome any questions you may have, and thank you for your time.
Questions from the board?
Have you got have you got a sense of where ownership of this lives yet? So, for instance, AI can live within tech, it can live within teaching and learning, it can live within staff development, or it can be in all of it.
So, I'll go first. My thought is that this is a partnership, and my thought is that it's a district-wide initiative. So I think that we need to make sure that we are doing responsible use on data, and that's where technology team and our data team and Dan and his expertise is going to be really, really essential. We need to make sure that our teachers have the proper training and support, and so working through the teaching and learning department and Liz and her team and finding opportunities to have conversations with our staff about introducing them to this is going to be critical. We've already had conversations at the admin level, as I mentioned earlier, about the foundations book. We need our leaders to lead, and they need to be knowledgeable about this so that they can facilitate conversations with their staff and make sure that they know about this technology and what's happening in their buildings. So it's really a district-wide initiative, and I couldn't say that in my opinion that there's one sole owner. It really is a district-wide movement, because this is what learning is going to look like over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. AI is going to be here, and so I think it's the entire district's responsibility to take some shared ownership in it.
And it's, again, this is a very, I don't know, it's analogous to it being a Microsoft Office tool or a Google tool. We all use it. Certain departments are more advanced than others, but in the end, I think we're already seeing how it's made things more efficient. But I agree with Mr. Counselor, this is a district-wide process, and to be frank, the leadership in each department will probably drive the rate of kind of acceleration and how it's being used and those types of things.
100%, and that's why we established a district-wide steering committee with members across the district. Absolutely.
I remember when I started in banking, which was many years ago, online banking was a new thing, and it was a lot of trepidation around that, but it's become a game changer in banking. So I feel like this is going to be the same thing, but I still have that same kind of sort of trepidation about it. So I think it's good that we're getting ahead of it, and I appreciate the level of detail in this. I did wonder, will they have like SOPs set up, standard operating procedures, sorry to be a pain, everybody, set up for that? Will there be like a guidebook? Is that what that is?
Yeah, so our guidance really is our SOP. This is, introducing it to our staff, identifying what those responsible uses are. So yeah, that's what the guidance is. And that's, again, why we created it as a guidance as opposed to a policy, because it's going to continue to evolve, and we recognize that it will need updates in the future.
So that's great. Leads me into my question. How often will this get updated? Because AI is growing pretty rapidly, and as we're starting to build a guidance around this for our community and staff. And I know that you said there's like a phase 2, but what are we building to keep reviewing this?
So the reason we created a guidance is so that we don't have to change it as tools change. We don't reference tools in the guidance. Phase 2 is now to look at tactically how we roll this out. The guidance, we believe, will live on for some time without needing to be updated. We will, of course, look at it annually to see what changes are needed, but our out of the gate thought process was to make it a guidance instead of a policy, to not put in tools because those will change, and then now to look at how do we adopt it formally. What tools will we endorse, support? Obviously from the tech side, Mr. Mendoza's point, we are here to enable it. Our business is education. It's a partnership. We'll work collaboratively to make sure we roll this out and support it across the district.
So there will be an opportunity during the year for staff to maybe give feedback in regards to how this guidance lays out?
Yeah, so we plan on act with our staff communication, absolutely accepting, feedback as we sort of roll out our next phase. And it's really a partnership, not just between the administration and the Earl leadership as well. So we've worked closely with Chrissy Gatlin with making sure that we're including our staff in this process so that there's staff voice, and we're not making decisions in isolation.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I've really been impressed with our district is we've been able to think, been really forward thinking in terms of how competency-based learning and much of the work that has happened in terms of our education of our teachers. And so it's been very, very forward thinking. And in terms of how we even think about education different, it's taken me a while just to kind of catch up. It's going to be interesting to think because this AI is actually changing the way people are thinking about work in general, right? In terms of content expert, if you're a content expert, it's because you put in miles and years and hours into your craft. What does that mean now, right? When you can get, so anyhow, so I think it's going to be interesting both as an educator and as a student, because I think that those may be two different use cases. So anyhow, so I think it's going to be interesting how you're going to be able to support our district to think differently on how we think about education and about work.
100%. These types of revolutions come around very infrequently. We have the opportunity to introduce our kids and staff into this at early stages and really empower them because it will change their lives. AI is not going away. There are some real concerns, and Kevin and I have done a good job of identifying those through our committees, and those will be brought forward, but we want to make sure we move forward and adopt it and give our kids an opportunity to embrace it as we move forward in this revolution.
And we've got a review of the COSBA, and I've really been interested in this topic for a while. And one of the sessions was actually about AI, but this perspective was actually about diversity in the field. And a lot of the models have been trained, and a lot of the elements of the training has been predominantly male and predominantly white and predominantly American. And so the presenter was actually encouraging those there that, especially if you are in a highly diverse district, a highly diverse population, really lean into this because there is a need for diverse perspectives in this field. So that's why I'm once again encouraging. I think this will be really good for us, for our students, and for the industry in general.
We agree.
Any additional questions from the board? Hearing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will segue right off of Mr. Jewett's conversation there on the COSBA and NSBA National Conference reports. I'll start. Mine's all in there. Definitely review it. If you've got any questions, always feel free to hit me up on it. Again, all of it is great educational resources for us, keeping us on top. So that, as Mr. Jewett just pointed out, having those poignant questions to ask when the conversation and the topics come up at the board table. But we can just kind of run around the table here real fast and hit any highlights that everybody wants to highlight.
I'll go first. Or next.
Go.
So I hit a lot of the trauma-informed practices at the COSBA. There was a fabulous presenter I saw. She had 2 different sessions. And the first one was Trauma Ain't Normal. And it was about students and their ACEs, the adverse childhood events, and how it affects them and their learning and whatnot. But then the second session in the afternoon was all about the educators and how, we tend to, and it was really interesting attending as both a board member and as a person who works in a school with kids. We tend to focus on the kids and we forget that we too have them. And sometimes little Johnny in the corner that's making us crazy. Johnny is triggering something in us from our childhood. And, she was so amazing in talking about how we have to make sure we take care of ourselves and, making sure we take care of our staff and our teachers and everyone. And it was really, really good. And then another one I had gone to, there were a couple with school safety. One of the ones that I had gone to, the presenter, he's a consultant, but he worked for the North Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice system. And I think one of the things that he was really focusing on was making sure when we have those students who come back from suspensions or come back from expulsions or come back from alternative educations, making sure that we kind of welcome them back, and it's not just, oh, that kid over there who did the bad thing, but making sure we do like wraparound services in the school for them. And I know we do meetings and we do hopefully do a pretty good job of that, and making sure that, to help lower recidivism, basically, So it was just, there was so many good things there. So I'll go on to others.
I'll go. I did attend some great sessions, although I will say that Kevin Bacon was the highlight for me. I did tour the Atlanta Career and College Academy, which was a lot like our tech campus. And I did, in my packet, put some pictures. Two courses that I took that really stood out for me were, one was Reaching the Wounded Student and Staff for Better Academic Achievement, which was just like Ms. Larson was saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, and looking at childhood ACEs and at-risk behavior. At risk, they are already beyond at risk, they are already wounded. And I have some handouts in there and then the website. And the other one that was actually standing room only and gravitates towards my job was How Predators Groom Children, Families, and Organizations. And it's important because it's every day in the news. I listed the website and several ebooks that are great for parents, especially of young children, that have resources and tips for online gaming, online learning. Over 40% of online gamers are 36 and over. So, yeah. So if you have small kids, I highly recommend reading those ebooks. I put them in the packet. We had some great general session speakers, and I appreciate being able to go. But everything is in my packet.
I would say I attended the same conference as Mr. Francisco and Miss Lee, which was the NSBA in Atlanta. A lot of the sessions that I attended were around superintendent succession. Not that you're going anywhere right away, Dr. Mendoza, but we know that is coming up faster than probably we would like. I did a site visit to the Burgess Peterson Academy in Atlanta. It is choice school. They're neighborhood schools, but they're choice. And the school that I visited was not always the parents' first choice, so they had to overcome academic faults and negative reputation, and they shared in great detail their strategy and storytelling to overcome from where they started to where they are today. Doing realtor tours, which I know we do, spreading the good word, which we always encourage and ask for people to do. But they shared some signature events and just how they really transformed the school. I included a great deal in my report, but I'm always happy to share even greater details. We're always looking to make sure that we spread the good word here at Round Lake. And then again, same general sessions, and I will concur with Miss Lee, seeing Kevin Bacon. And I guess we're a degree less, right? Is it 6 or 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon? So we're a few degrees less. But again, appreciate the opportunity to always continue learning as we sit here on the board. So thank you.
Okay, I want to apologize because I deleted all of my notes, so I didn't get to send my recap to Janira, and that was actually totally my fault. I don't know how I did it, but somehow in my phone they were gone. But I went to COSBA, and it was actually one of the best ones I've been to. I was really, like, there were some really profound sessions. I also went to a couple of the ones that she was discussing. We're talking about trauma and how it affects teaching. One of the ones I went to that I thought was really good was hot button issues in school law. And so they talked about, basically, and I pulled up the thing, which I will send you guys, but federal enforcement of civil rights, race, color, national origin discrimination, sex-based discrimination, how the federal courts and public education is having to deal with parental rights, discrimination based on disability, reverse discrimination. So that one was a pretty powerful presentation. They were really kind of hitting on sort of uncomfortable subjects that we tend to want to avoid. So I thought that one was really, really good, some of the feedback that they gave. And I wanted to commend our administration because I feel like we do not shy away from things like that as a rule. And I think it's important that we address it kind of head on. Probably one of the highlights, and I can't lie, was meeting Layla Ali. That was kind of a big deal. She's so beautiful, but that was super cool. And I didn't realize until she spoke that she had been a student that was troubled and kind of struggled and sort of one of the ones that was sort of forgotten. So I thought her take on it was really valuable, just because some of those kids that get left behind can be overlooked and can be definitely contenders and very successful. So really just one of the best COSBA that I think we've ever gone to, personally, I thought.
All right, for me, there were 2 additional besides the one I had mentioned at the last update. 2 more pieces. I went to COSBA in Atlanta as well, and one was transitioning students with special needs for success beyond high school. One of the pieces I pulled, and actually putting the summary together, and I gave it to Janira, but I turned in my assignment late, so I think I got it incomplete. So they actually have a binder and information that they actually give to parents. So it reminded me to reach out to them to get a copy of that. They said that they would share that. So I think it might be helpful for us, because I think I could have used something. It would have been nice for us transitioning from transition to out. And the tools that they had, I thought, would be useful for us. And then the second one was, or the other one was, Real Talk Building Student Career or College Efficacy. Both Kevin, DeVere, and I had gone to that one. And one of the things that stood out is they started engaging students conversations around where they wanted to go and where they saw their career in middle school, and even had a career day even younger than that, so that they could think about preparing for their future. And he said one of the things, it's being in the school districts that their group had come out of was predominantly African American, and predominantly the boys that they had talked about, a lot of them wanted to be athletes. So he said a lot of times we would try to in the beginning we would try to discourage them that no, don't do that. But they started to lean into it. Well, what's required if you want to be an athlete? Well, you actually have to go to college. And if you want to go to college, this is what you have to do. And you would lean in and start to encourage them to say, well, if this is the path that you want to go, this is actually the path that you have to take. And then start to give them a vision for what that might look like. The other piece is that he had done a lot of work with troubled African American males. And I think if that was something that we wanted to engage with again, because I know that we had done some of that work prior to COVID, if that he may have some resources that that we may be able to lean into and be able to access. So I've got his information if we need that. His name is Michael Wynn, and so on and so forth. So.
Thank you all. We will now move to our fiscal year 26 budget assumptions.
Good evening. You have in your packet our FY26 budget assumptions, which the overall change in our budget assumptions from the last meeting until now is a reduction of our surplus of $424,000. This is mainly due to the addition of special education FTE costs in the amount of $329,000. But we are still looking at an overall estimated surplus budget position of FY26 in the amount of $185,000.
So this was reviewed at finance, and just add as mentioned regarding special education FTE cost. Obviously, it's a little bit of a reduction, but again, we still sit at a positive balance. And I'll, in the finance report, I'll go over in regards to some of the special education FTEs that will be coming forward.
Any additional questions from the board? Hearing none, thank you very much on that. And that'll take us to our May update for the strategic plan monthly update.
No formal written update. We've updated the monitoring document. And just, Heather, could you just briefly talk about the change? When we go over the strategic plan, like at the end of the year, it's really, really long. We want to break it up into 2 meetings. So Heather, do you want to comment on that?
So in prior years, you've seen one large presentation that gave a year-end wrap-up with all the achievements related to the strategies that had been identified for that year. And then we go into by department and theme of the strategic plan, the strategies that we've identified for the next. So this year we're going to try something a little bit different. As you see here, you have the monthly recap or summary of what's progressed in each of those areas. And we'll be doing a year-end summary at the end of each of those strategies, rather than putting it into a presentation. So it'll be a little bit easier to see what has happened the entire year with the year-end summary at the end. And then we'll have a separate presentation in June that provides updates on what our strategies will be in each of the goal areas for 25-26. Any questions about that?
Bless you. Bless you both. Bless all of you.
I do have a question. Actually, sometimes when I read it, if the negative Nelly in me looks at it and I think about if I want to backwards engineer this, I can put in things that align with what the strategy says. I would love to hear because if it says it's on target, is it on target on a spectrum?
Yeah, we can do that. Okay. I know what you're saying. Yeah, because some of the work continues past even the document. Ideally, not everything is ideal, but once it rolls off, we assume it's part of the system and we're engaging in it. Otherwise, we would have things on there from like 7 years ago still. So I know what you're asking. We could actually, I'm clear on that. Heather, can you just make a note? We can talk about it as a team. We'll make sure we do that for you.
Additional questions? Hearing none, we'll transition to the review contracts less than 1,000. We had one. Any questions from the board in regards to it? Hearing none, we will now move to opportunities for public comment. As always, members of the public may participate in public comment during regular board meetings by attending in person or by submitting an electronic public comment form. Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Electronic public comments will be accepted up until noon on the day of the regularly scheduled meeting, and the public commenter will be contacted to confirm identity. Once confirmed, the electronic public comment is provided to all board members in written form, and a link to the electronic public comment form can be found online. For this meeting, we did not have any electronic public comment. Do we have any local public comment? Hearing none, we will now move on to the superintendent's report.
Yes, we're very pleased to report that Mr. Francisco and I will be co-presenting at the 2025 Joint Annual Conference, Share the Success panel session. The title of the presentation is Boards and Unions, Evolving District Relations and Bargaining. This is actually piggyback off of appropriate. We have Ms. Gatlin here. We have a very, very unique, I think, special relationship with Board Administration Association. And we're going to be sharing about that. So it's really like super positive. Preliminary access scores have been made available, and we're very pleased to announce that 128 students have preliminarily reached English proficiency this year, a tremendous milestone worth celebrating. Additionally, 2 students who participated in the alternate access assessment achieved the highest possible score, highlighting the incredible progress of our multilingual learners. Additional information will be provided in upcoming student achievement presentation. I want to compliment Director Knapp and the teachers in our school district, the association, Lisa, her team. I just don't want to leave anybody out, but this is the biggest number we've had exit in quite a while. I also want to share, I wasn't planning on doing this, but it's certainly relevant. We have a civics course that Mr. Barnshaw teaches with Mr. Miller. And I spoke personally to several students who are in that class, and they actually went and spoke with representatives from Senator Edley Allen's office, as well as Representative Favor Diaz. And what's interesting is, and again, you're going to actually see this in June. When is Casey Kurtz coming? Do we remember, Lisa? What month? June 16th. June 16th. So proportionately speaking, I think there's 29 states that give the access test, which is a national test. Just like with our IAR, just like with the former SAT, just like with Access, Illinois has the highest cut scores in the country. The reason that's relevant is the 3 students I spoke to in Mr. Barnshaw's civics class can't pass out of the Access test. And they're some of our best students, and they're all 3 going to college with scholarships. And they can't get out of that. They can't, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but there's something wrong with the way that test is structured. And literally exiting that program is literally based on 1 score, a single score. So just very, very proud of what we're doing. As a reminder, and no, I'm not looking at the weather yet, the high school and middle school ceremonies will be held this weekend. Yanira Garcia is forwarding details for parking, meeting spot, and meals. I believe that came out earlier today. Friday, May 19th, 6 p.m. is the high school graduation ceremony at the stadium. Weather alternates, the first one is at 6 p.m., the second one on Saturday. The second one is at Sunday at 6 p.m. Number 3 is best available. Number 4, Sunday morning, indoor and split in 2 by Alpha. So I think we're prepared. Let's hope we don't have to use any of those. Saturday, May 20th, middle school ceremonies at the high school main gym. 9 a.m. Round Lake Middle, 11 a.m. John T. McGee Middle School. And below our recently received donations, we are notifying the board in compliance with board policy. A thank you letter will be sent from the district. I am going to call out the companies. We've got a long list here, but I want to thank Men's Warehouse, Walmart of Round Lake Beach, Tammy Robinson, Germanos, Round Lake Area Police Department, Bella's Bouncies, Meyer, The Pizza Place, The Freeze, Culver's and Grays Lake, Twisted Burger, King County Cougars, San Judas, Los Camales, Walmart again, and Robin Nielsen for all of their donations. We have these specifically listed for you, and this superintendent's report is available in the packet for the community.
Dr. Mendoza, is that
Yes.
the park district, not the police department?
Oh yeah, Round Lake Area Park District. Good call out. Acronyms. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. So that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Mendoza. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll transition and straight into the Finance Committee update.
Thank you. Finance Committee met earlier today. We had a shorter agenda than last. First item on the packet was Diligent Community, or Diligent. Currently, we utilize board books for the board, which is part of Diligent. Board books is going away, and Diligent Community will be coming forward. I actually had met with Diligent back in our conference in Austin, and Diligent Community seemed really good, so I'm excited that this is coming forward. Has quite a few additional features that board book doesn't. One of them that happy for the community, they can subscribe to meeting alerts. So remind community.
No, we just in Cosmo we actually went to one of their luncheons and they were giving us some of the goodies that they were going to be offering. It's going to be really good. They have the meeting alerts was one of the things I thought was super cool too. So I'm happy that you said that because my notes went away.
That's okay. So again, quite a good few features that will be coming out of that. But again, the community alerts, there is a 5% increase from board books. But again, I think the good will outweigh that. There will be training. You could do in person, but their self-tutorial videos will also be there. And I think we believe that could benefit all of us. This is going to be a 1-year agreement. There is the migration from board books to community that will carry over. However, I know for myself, I use the note feature in board books. I don't know if anybody else does. If you do, you'll need to extract that yourself. That will not come over. So I have some work in front of me to do. But if you do utilize that, please know, because this will start July 1, or that contract starts July 1. If there's anything that you've kept on your personal notepad in meetings, you will need to carry that over. But the board packets themselves, that history will carry over. But again, quite a few new features. I think that's exciting to come forward. Next is the contract renewal for Organic Life, and that is later on the agenda, so we'll cover that then. Next on the agenda is School-lytics. This is brought forward by Dr. King. This is a data dashboard that will help us integrate the many softwares that we use: Infinite Campus, Canvas, iReady, Branching Minds, IAR, and bring this into one data dashboard. I think this will be great coming forward when administration brings data to the board. This is going to be a multi-year contract that will be a slow integration and implementation with later into the 3-year, as you heard Mr. Kozak mention about AI, and then also MTSS. But I think this will be great. With this platform coming forward, this will allow us to not have to renew certain other platforms that we're using, because this will be one integration. So I think this is really exciting to bring forward. So there is a lot of savings due to other platforms that we will not utilize. So I'm really excited for this to come forward. Next, we have staffing and position control change, as we talked about with the budget assumptions. The need for special ed FTE positions between Murphy and McGee and Round Lake Middle School. Those positions change, and again with SPED, there are mandates that we obviously have to follow. That is a significant cost. Also, then the question came out of space. Do we have space for this additional staff? And that has been addressed as well, because even though we've had expansions and renovations, space is still always an issue. And you'll see that those new positions is well over $300,000, as mentioned in the budget assumptions. Next, we had school bus trainer safety stipend. As we've heard from Dr. Lamping and that staff over there, getting bus drivers and staffing in the transportation department. This would be a stipend for a bus driver slash safety trainer that can help with CDLs. Again, they're looking for ways to help increase and maintain staffing in that department. I think this is a creative way to bring that forward. And definitely the finance is in support of that. Next, which will also be on the agenda later, is the lifts for Beach and Ellis Elementary. And then we already heard regarding the fiscal year budget assumptions. If you did look at the finance agenda, you notice that there was no P card report. That's because of the transition from Q. There will be twice the fund next month for everybody. And that's finance.
Any questions for the finance team?
Ms. Negretti and McKinley, if I could add, I apologize.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
We were also wanting to ask for anticipated postings of
Oh.
this position, so I just wanted to make sure we had covered that.
Did you mention that and I forgot?
We had talked about it on Tuesday, but not tonight, so I
That's
apologize
okay.
for
No,
that.
so as you heard, they want to move forward with those anticipated. Of course, they will still come to the board for final approval. Any,
Any objections?
you're good? Thank you.
And now on to approval of open meeting minutes.
Yes, and with that, I need a motion to approve the May 5th, 2025 special meeting organization of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the May 5th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries. And that will take us now to our new business. And this is a conversation that we have on here in regards to board member conference attendance and participation. It came up, and thank you to Ms. Negretti McGinley for bringing it up while we were traveling. The scope and nature of our travels and education does present a cost factor that we definitely want to make sure that we're keeping in mind in regards to being stewards of our community funds and resources. So everyone has gotten in email form some of the background on the last 3 years and looking at those. And we put together a little bit of a background idea of going forward with an opportunity of how we want to lay it out, just so that everybody gets the opportunity to go and be able to get that education that we all desperately need. And we want to also make sure that we're putting the district in the proper limelight as well when it comes to being seen on a national and or local level. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Just
Yeah. It's very simple. If you look at the middle of the table that we created for you in the middle of the page, essentially what the framework could look like is, if you go all the way to the right, you have annual. You could go to, the framework would include having everybody go to the local, which is III, and one other of the two on the far right each year. You would go to all of the regulars every year, which is in the middle column. So you would go to all those. And then anything off to the left that would be unique, there would just be a formal process that you would, if you wanted to go, you felt it was, I put some guiding criteria down at the bottom, but it was either tied to some type of strategic planning effort, some type of local or national legislative issue or state issue, or like a hot topic. The board members could submit, and we'll come up with some form that's easy to use. You would submit something to the board president for approval. Obviously, the board president can't approve his own, so he would submit, or whoever the board president is would submit a similar request to whoever the chair of the finance committee is. And that would just provide at least some framework to kind of operate in. So that's essentially what all the text says at the bottom.
And that's going to put it more in our own hands too, of we need to be our own advocate for finding and going to that additional education if they are out there. I know for me, it's still going to be the advocacy ones on an every other year kind of basis, but definitely wanting to make sure that we keep that advocacy going. But it'll definitely be ownership of each and every one of us in order to find those hot topic items that resonate with each other, so that we can continue that education. Questions from the board, conversation. This is not a download, this is an open conversation, so please chime in.
I was just waiting to hear from the board, but as you mentioned, it's just, looking at the conferences that are out there, the financial costs that come with travel. I mean, we obviously wanted to keep professional development, but we also wanted to, as Dr. Mendoza said, and Mr. Francisco has put a framework around it. This way, also that we know in advance, because we all have jobs. So not all of us have unlimited PTO. So, and I think some of us like to travel with our families or spend time with our families. So, there's a lot of factors that come into signing up for conferences, just like, at least for myself, I travel for work. I have conferences, so I have to attend for work. There's a lot to schedule and manage. Hopefully this helps put a framework for everybody.
Yeah, and one thing, and again, it's not meant to be ironclad. It's a little bit tricky because theoretically, you could have a year where your schedules are all busy and there's maybe one or two of you that can go to some of these unique experiences on behalf of the full board. But if somebody says, well, I've already gone, I don't want to make it look like I'm going again, then nobody gets the benefit of any of it. So I think that's the point Mr. Francisco is making, is if possible, it'd be nice to spread the wealth, I guess. So if you see one and you've already gone to a unique one, but you see one that might be of interest, we can figure out a way to get that information to the hands of the full board. So then you guys can all share with each other.
Because what the delta that we're actually talking about is the unique section.
That's correct. That's even simpler than I said it. So congratulations. Yeah. Yes, correct.
Oh, I was literally about to say that, and you didn't even break out AI, or did you? Dun dun dun.
I was just going to add, most of these that fall under that unique category, those next year dates are out there already. So maybe
Correct.
we can get that into the hands
We'll get
of the
it.
board.
We'll get those and get them
So
out to
again,
you. Yep.
And in fairness, some of them have already been out to us, just like the COSBA Legislative Conference one that is in September has already been out on everybody's emails.
So, these are also, these are ones that I think I need AI. These are ones that we are aware of primarily because those are ones that we've attended in the past, and partly because you're interested in advocacy. But I'm wondering if there are others that are probably even more aligned with our strategic plan that some of us may actually be more interested in going in, and that it may spread it around. Like, for instance, there was the one on public relations and communications that was open to us to go. So I'm just wondering if there are some other things that could spread that around a little bit.
Absolutely.
So I don't have an answer for this yet, but we can figure it out. I think would be nice if we could create the team for you, kind of a warehouse of options so that you can go in there anytime and look at what's available. That way it's not email forwards that maybe you see and then in a week you're like, I can't remember. So if we can keep a running list of conferences, things that we know, and then the only other thing that may be periodically tricky, some of the things that come out, you just have to determine is it board member or administrator, right? That kind of, sometimes there's a difference.
in that warehouse, and we can keep track of who's attending what and when.
I do believe in the next few years, this is going to become more imperative that we go. I genuinely do. I know it's spending money, but I think it's just going to become something that we need to make time for.
Well, you're talking about advocacy.
Yeah. I mean, amongst other things.
But
in
to
particular.
Mr. Jewett's point, there's a lot of things, and yeah, a lot of these are things I've seen, I've found through my connections with either EdRed or piggybacking off Dr. Mendoza with LUDA or NSBA or IASB or COSBA or the whole 9 yards. But to your point, Mr. Jewett, I know I don't have the corner on the market of knowing it all out there. So that's why I implore all of us to be looking in your own avenues of research, because everybody at this board table brings something a little bit different, which is the beauty of our table here, is that we work together that way. So please be bringing that up. And if you find something, forward it to Dr. Mendoza, copy myself and to Ms. Garcia. That way we can get it out to the whole board as well.
And what made me think about it, because quite frankly, the things that come across our inbox is a lot of EdRed advocacy. It's that kind of stuff. But when I read the strategic plan, that's what made me think, I wonder if there's other stuff out there. And then it reminded me of the communication. So any sort of support in that would really be appreciated. That'd be awesome. Yeah. And I wasn't throwing shade at. I was just like, that's
understood. No, appreciate that. Yeah.
In our awareness.
So just increasing that unique opportunity of conferences is what you're saying.
And I'm not asking to go to more stuff. I'm just saying that, yeah, it may be kind of cool.
No, I was just going to say, I know there's a lot of unique conferences out there, but we also have to keep in mind that we need to be good financial stewards for the community. And if it's not going to the same thing over and over again, if it's something we've already been to, I know advocacy days happen several times a year, and just trying to remember to be financially responsible and broaden our educational horizons at the same time.
Yeah, the advocacy days, that one is a little tricky because the legislation changes every year. Changes
every week.
Yeah, so I think there were 150 bills filed just in education this year. So it's hard to keep up. So I agree with what you said, Miss Lee. That one changes so rapidly.
All right, so everybody seems to be, do I hear any objections, any clarifications as to what we've kind of laid out? All right, hearing none there, we will then move forward. And funny how this goes, let's go to a pre-approval of expenses related to board travel.
I know. It's the money for me. I need a motion to approve the expenses related to the Board of Education for travel, meals, and lodging for the joint annual conference.
So moved.
Actually, hold on. Can I actually ask something about that?
Please.
So, one of the things we may want to consider or do a recap, there's sometimes, like when I first started, that pre-registration, the beginning part, the front end of the conference, there was a lot of meat in there. Sometimes there's not a lot of meat, and there's more about the conference.
No, you're absolutely right. And I'll even say this from an IASB viewpoint: the pre-conference day, that Friday, is more for newer board members. There's a lot more there for newer board members, so there may not necessarily be, you may be hitting the same things over and over. So there, I would leave it to each individual's judgment when you see the choices that are out there, whether it fits your agenda or not. I mean, if you're just going to see the same thing over again, then absolutely not. But then at the same part, I know there's a lot of board president kind of stuff. So if you're ever looking at growth into the executive table, so to speak, then some of those classes are there for you, things like that. And also in addition to that, there are a lot of like superintendent search and different targeted conversations that are on those days. So again, the very good call out, Mr. Jewett, that maybe not every time everybody has to do those Friday events, but if there is one that meets your interests, then by all means, feel free.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know there are times I haven't done the full day of the Friday or whatever, because, like, as you mentioned, there's maybe nothing as appealing that we need to, or you've done it a few times.
Well, the funny thing is we're all at a bunch of years, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right, any additional questions or conversation before we move to a roll call? Did we get a motion, actually? No, we did not, so
I
can I get
listed a motion, but you had a question.
Oh,
I'll second it.
all right. Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Mr. Jewett. And if I can manage to keep this going, we'll do a roll call.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries. And that will take us to food service management and
Good evening. Last year, between April and June, the district held its 5-year annual request for bids for food service. And that food service bid was granted to Organic Life. As part of that contract, we are allowed to renew with them for up to 4 years at a price no greater than 5% or CPI, whichever is lower. Administration has brought to the Finance Committee and is now bringing to the board approval of the contract to renew with Organic Life for next year in the amount of a 2.5% increase.
And as a clarification, this will take the contract through 2029 now?
No, this will be yet again one more year.
year.
So
Okay,
each year
thank
for
you.
the next 4 years will come with annual renewals.
For 1 year. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention, this was at the Finance Committee. This is for an additional year. We have that option for a renewal. That's what's before us today. Again, we've had a good relationship with Organic Life, which is why we bring for this renewal.
Any additional questions?
Great. I need a motion. Do we have a motion? Yeah. I need a motion. Is this on here for a motion? Because it reads weird. Maybe it's just me.
It should have a motion to approve the contract renewal with Organic Life.
I'll read something here. I need a motion to approve the contract for food service management company with a contract renewal with Organic Life in the amount of $90,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Hearing no additional conversation, roll call please.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yeah.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up.
Thank you. We are asking the board to approve the most responsive and responsible bid for the Ellis and Beach platform lifts. These lifts are required in order for students to travel to the music room at Beach Elementary School. Currently, they have to go through the gym. And at Ellis, to get into their library, currently they have to go around through the gym to get into the second door. The most responsive and responsible bidder was Bowler at $228,900. We anticipate $50,000 of an allowance will not be used. The lifts are being purchased through special education funds. Those funds require a American-made company. The company that we are going with is DME Elevator, and the lift is Symmetry. They are a dealer that's been in northern Illinois for the last 12 years. They have been in business, DME has been in business for 45 years. They are in a number of schools within the Lake and McHenry County, as well as Chicago and in Wisconsin. DME has a solid track record for the maintenance of those lifts. They are responsive. The current blueprint depicts, and their flyer depicts, a closed-in lift, but the lift will be partially open because of the age of the students. There will be controls on the outside of the lifts. Once approved, now it goes back to the blueprint phase to get the lift made specifically for our situation.
I just have one quick question. Just these two lifts, in addition with the summer elevator work at Murphy, will bring all of our buildings in line with ADA, question mark?
So I will say this, that what we are learning and have learned is our front doors at all of our schools do not necessarily have the handicap button or an opportunity for the secretary to manually open it up for, a handicapped person to come in. We are converting McGee this summer, but we are going around to the other schools to make sure that that door accessibility is put into place.
I guess I would further add, as we talk about our buildings being ADA compliant, we have to remember that our main gym here at the high school, those bleachers are not ADA compliant.
Correct.
So while I know Dr. Lamping and operations and us as a board and the administration, we know we have quite a few areas still yet to make things ADA compliant. We've definitely made great strides over the last couple of years, but I think to say that our buildings are all ADA compliant, I don't think we're quite there yet. I mean, again, the gym alone is not.
Thank you.
If I could further add again, this item was on, as I mentioned, was on the finance committee earlier this evening. Dr. Lamping already addressed some of those questions. New parameters around, as she mentioned, being grant funded. And again, just the depiction of that lift showed it was enclosed, but that was just their general flyer. Again, noting that we will have kindergartners that will use this lift. We want to just make sure that an adult, a staff member, has access to it. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't an exact replica of the one here at the high school. Again, these students are a little bit older than our kindergartners, and just want to make sure staff be able to access or be able to reach a student.
Hearing no additional conversation?
I need a motion to approve the bid award to Boiler Construction Company, Inc. for the installation of platform lifts at Beach and Ellis Elementary Schools in the amount of $220,900.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Lee. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yeah.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler,
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
And that will bring us to positive occurrences.
Oh, I got one. I came from quite the nail biter. The JV JV volleyball team won tonight, as did the varsity boys volleyball team. They won while I was, in case anybody caught my jump of excitement. That was me getting updates. And we just had last week the fine arts banquet and the athletic banquet where we recognized all of our fabulous students, and the busy week ahead.
Well, you're just going to bury the lead on that one too. Coach Nicolene at what day was that? When we were at Christian Life, that was Friday. On Friday at Christian Life Academy, picked up his first win as head coach of the varsity team, and then of course followed it up today with that second win today. But he got his very first win as the varsity head coach on Friday, with a great performance there. So just that part of the volleyball. I'll throw out just two quick ones. The athletic department and actually the whole district did an amazing job in turning over the stadium over the last week. A couple different times we had the IHSA girls track sectional that was hosted here at the high school level, and then on Saturday we had the track middle school sectional. And that was the entire partnership of the whole district there, and it was just a great job, top to bottom, for all of that. So thank you to everyone involved with that, an amazing job. And then I was going to throw out, just to got locked in on this, on June 12th, I'll be presenting at the ROE EdRed Mini Summit, basically effective board leadership, how to be a board member, kind of that whole 9 yards thing. And that is, Don, remind me where? Glenbrook?
Yeah, it's Glenbrook North High School. We can send that out.
Yeah, but just again, another opportunity, much like what Dr. Mendoza and I are going to have the ability to do in regards to working with the union. This one's just more of the board member, what the job is, kind of trying to talk to those newer board members that just got elected that are coming to that. So.
Okay, I was just gonna add, I went to what day was that? Wednesday, the volleyball game here?
Yeah, Wednesday was one you were at in
Yeah.
Antioch, yeah.
I just wanted to share, because I have a nephew who goes to Antioch, so don't hold, I believe blue and gold, but, I sat on the Antioch side, but I was rooting for Round Lake, just so you all know, but the students and families that I sat with, they just wanted to say that we have the best concession stand in the conference because of the slushies. You heard that? I was gonna ask, because I know that's your school.
Yes, I can confirm that because I also was sitting, I actually went to the, what was it, the freshman stuff? I don't know. The game that was in the.
The JV2.
Yeah,
JV2
JV2. And was talking to other parents that I knew from my work. And they also confirmed that we have the best concession stand in the entire area. So, yes, we have an awesome concession stand.
I said I would share.
It's all about slushies.
Okay, so this is random, but I wanted to highlight our school's guidance counselors, like our special education support staff, just all of the people that help those kids that are kind of overlooked and sort of missed. I think we do a really good job as a rule with that, and I'm just really proud of the efforts that everybody puts in for that. And I think we would probably not have as high of a graduation rate that we do without your guys' efforts. So I just wanted to say it as both a board member and a parent that I'm grateful to you all.
Wow, nothing positive to say. Wow, okay. Then next we will move to future agenda items. Hearing nothing on future agenda items, we will move. I need a motion to convene in closed session as permitted by statute 5 ILCS 120/2 for the purpose of discussing the following: litigation 5 ILCS 120/2C11, employment matters 5 ILCS 120/2C1, real estate matters 5 ILCS 120/2C5, and closed meeting minutes 5 ILCS 120/2C21.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Negrete McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Larson,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler.
Yes.
And that will take us to closed session. We will have open session and action resulting from closed session after the closed session. So everyone online, please hang tight and we will be back with you. Thank you. we are back in open session at 10:12 p.m. And we have action resulting from the closed session.
I need a motion for the approval of the resolution for the dismissal of educational support personnel as listed in the memo.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Lee. Hearing no conversation, roll call please.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of May 5th, 2025, regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Roll call please.
Mrs. Negretti McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Miss Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
Motion carries. And that will take us to adjournment at 10:13 p.m. on 5/19. Everyone have a great evening. Thank you.